para sa pagbabago. Sawa na ang bayan ko sa magnanakaw na tao.
You may now please take your seats. Thank you. An important institution in our fight against corruption is the Office of the Ombudsman. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales.
Mr. President, Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez, Executive Secretary Salvador Medellea, and the other members of the Cabinet, Congress, and the Judiciary, fellow workers in the vineyard of public service in the anti-corruption effort, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant evening. Friday, December 9, is International Anti-Corruption Day, the theme for which is United Against Corruption for Development, Peace, and Security. The global menace of corruption indeed impedes the momentum for economic growth and social development. Studies show that every year $1 trillion are paid in bribes, where at least the estimated amount of $2.6 trillion are stolen annually through corruption. Corruption likewise threatens peace and national security as public discontent on governments spurs violence and provokes tense situation to ignite social unrest, revolutions, or even internal armed conflicts. Social conflict may not, however, be remedied by suppression or outright silencing, but through governance reforms. Since 2013, December has been purposely declared as Anti-Corruption Month in the entire country per Republic Act number 10589. I am delighted that in this cooler month of December, the national leaders take time to gather under one roof to uphold the noble objectives of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Since 2013, this convergence of all main branches of government has provided the unique opportunity to reaffirm the common resolve to fight corruption. On the part of the Office of the Ombudsman, its 7-year roadmap has been in place for more than 5 years. With less than 2 years to go before my term ends, I'd like to believe that this roadmap has helped the institution regain its proper place in conditions better when I first stepped on it. From a total case docket of more than 19,000 in 2011, the office is now operating on a caseload of roughly 7,000. Moreover, a much improved case buildup and a more aggressive prosecution have improved the office conviction rate before the Sandigan Bayan at 75% for the year 2015. A few weeks ago, the Sandigan Bayan reported that for the first 10 months of 2016, the Ombudsman filed 1,078 criminal cases before the Anti-Graft Court, the highest number of which was filed since 1995. Further, 2 specialized programs on environmental concerns and investment matters have been revitalized under the concept of a quick response team, namely the Investment Ombudsman Program and the Environmental Ombudsman Program. The office believes that the principles of integrity, transparency, and accountability have guided and will continue to propel our nation to greater heights. Indeed, there is no stopping the country in reaping the benefits of the seeds of good governance. If data and figures indicate anything, it is that this same collective effort produces results. The global indicators and rankings for the past 5 years offer a positive outlook for the future. I take pride in echoing what has already been stated a while ago as reflecting the improvement of the country's ranking worldwide. In the Global Competitiveness Report prepared by the World Economic Forum, the Philippines jumped 38 notches from a ranking of 85 in 2011 to a ranking of 47 in 2016. In terms of ease of doing business, their latest World Bank rankings placed the Philippines at 99, or 49 steps higher than the 148th placing in 2011. More. In the 2016 Index of Economic Freedom by the Heritage Foundation, the Philippines continues its upward trend with an improvement of 45 notches from 115 in 2011 to 70 in 2016. On top of these, the Philippines has been recognized by the Transparency International in its Corruption Perception Index with a current ranking of 95 from its 2011 ranking of 129, or an improvement of 34 notches within a 5-year period. Figures from worldwide governance indicators show that in terms of control of corruption as one of the 6 measured dimensions of governance, the Philippines percentile rank improved from 26.1 in 2011 to 41.83 in 2015. Notably, in the 2015 WGI data, the country's percentile rank in the 6 dimensions of governance, namely control of corruption, rule of law, regulatory quality, government effectiveness, political stability, and voice and accountability, remained mostly within the range of 41 to 58, except for political stability, which was rated as low as 21 percentile rank. The country's standing from these given measures signals the need for more substantial actions to strengthen governance in the country. With the present reaffirmation of the national collective effort to combat corruption, there is optimism. The Office of the Ombudsman is thus emboldened to further intensify and heighten its role as the protector of the people against abuse of power for personal gain. Yes, a number of cases have been won, but still quite a few have been lost. These occasions have resolved tough questions, legal or otherwise. Despite our passionate, earnest effort, there are things beyond our control. While it is our duty to prosecute, we can only do so much. It is the courts that ultimately decide. The potency of the differences in interpretation determines how convincingly or unconvincingly those legal battles have been won or lost. All sectors of society, then, must work together to combat corruption under the overarching maxim that fighting corruption is one of the finest expressions of patriotism and nationalism. The country needs more patriots who will work hand in hand in combating corruption to thereby attain greater prosperity for the greater number of people. Mabuhay po.
Thank you very much, Madam Ombudsman. For the House of Representatives, may I request Deputy Speaker Gwen Garcia to give us a few words.
President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez, Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdia, and the other members of Cabinet, our Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre, Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales, Attorney Theodore Te, my fellow workers in government, our development partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is my distinct honor to deliver for and behalf of our esteemed Speaker of the House of Representatives his message, and this is it. As a partner of the government in the effort to eradicate corruption, the House of Representatives reiterates its commitment to pass reforms That will not only make it easier to penalize corrupt officials in government and redefine the act of corruption to cover those committed by members of the private sector and by representatives of foreign entities, but more importantly, to address the systemic foothold of corruption in Philippine society. We recall that in the 16th Congress, the House Committee on Public Information embarked on a national consultation program which led to the eventual committee approval of a Freedom of Information bill. However, due to time constraints and competing priorities, the bill did not make it to plenary level. We are aware that among his first official acts, the President issued Executive Order Number 2, instituting mechanisms to ensure that information is made available to the public with certain parameters as to when information may be withheld. We will examine the issuance as it is and improve on it if necessary to meet the public clamor for a legislated Freedom of Information Act. Certainly, we will schedule deliberations on the proposed Whistleblowers Act as soon as the Committee on Justice completes its deliberations on the items in its first semester calendar. To encourage whistleblowing, we propose to afford protection to whistleblowers from reprisal and harassment, provide them financial or monetary rewards, and grant them immunity from administrative, civil, and criminal liability. Affording protection to witnesses is likewise a matter that needs careful consideration. In the light of the ongoing government war against drugs, it is imperative that we consider how best to protect and uphold the rights and benefits of a witness. The need for a more encompassing definition of witness duty, and find ways to strengthen current legal provisions to ensure the perpetuation of testimony. We also need to provide for a just penalty for the unjustified failure or refusal to cooperate or to testify in the investigation or prosecution of a case, and the appropriate penalty for unjustified recantation. The concept of corruption in the private sector, especially where this involves bribery, is one that has to be carefully studied, especially as it relates to extradition. We will appreciate receiving your proposals on a unified definition of the term public officials, in line with UNCAC Article 2, which includes foreign public officials of public international organizations. We will also appreciate receiving your thoughts and inputs on defining and penalizing bribery in the private sector, and whether or not the entire definition of bribery as a crime has to be amended. The proposal to amend the Philippine extradition law to grant extradition on the basis of reciprocity and the inclusion of extradition cases in the coverage of the mandatory continuous trial, and to amend the rules on admissibility have yet to be made concrete in bill form. We will appreciate receiving proposals on these matters. The entire list concerning asset recovery, covering state-to-state relations on offenses covered by the Convention, likewise requires specific policy proposals. A most important aspect of ethical responsibility in the public sector is when and how to draw the line to protect the public from one's personal interests. We need to agree on a better, more current definition and coverage of the term conflict of interest to inform and guide the implementation of Republic Act 6713, or the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees. The Secretariat has started staff work on fine-tuning the provisions of RA 6713 alongside the proposed Civil Service Code, which has never been passed in the last several Congresses, but which we hope we can finally approve in this 17th Congress. We also hope to address the corrupt practices of trading in influence and the abuse of function or position, or the performance of or failure to perform an act by a public official in violation of laws for the purpose of obtaining undue advantage for himself or herself or for another person. Such policy should likewise provide safeguards against frivolous and malicious allegations, such as penalties for false or malicious reporting in bad faith. We note that in 2014, the House passed a bill penalizing active and passive trading in influence and transmitted to the Senate. Currently, a bill of similar nature, House Bill 3177, is undergoing plenary consideration under the period of amendments. We are likewise mindful of the informed opinion that in corruption cases, the burden of evidence shifts to the public officer to prove that the excess of assets over one's income is legally acquired. This should inform our scrutiny of proposals to amend the law on forfeiture. Even as we underscore the importance of upholding bank secrecy to protect legitimate business transactions and the safety of individuals, we also recognize that there are other entities and activities that require more stringent monitoring to deter crime. In this regard, the President has sought the relaxation of bank secrecy laws, and we will heed this call by passing the necessary legislation. This and a twin policy to strengthen the safeguards against money laundering are topmost in our priority agenda. The war on drugs, while relentless, gives us pause. Prior to July of this year, no one, not even the President, was in possession of an accurate definition of how deeply ingrained illegal drug use was in Philippine society. The past 5 months and the House inquiry into the proliferation of drug trade in the National Penitentiary have shown how corruption exacerbated the drug problem and its ability to destroy institutions and obliterate the rule of law. All at once, the specter of a government that has been overtaken by criminal drug syndicates has been revealed, its magnitude and gravity telling us of how close we are to the abyss. That corruption enables criminal activity is a reality that now confronts us, and we must acknowledge how it threatens to destroy our society and the next generation of Filipinos. It magnifies a reciprocal relationship with organized transnational crime syndicates and constitutes a huge challenge to our law enforcement establishment. Corruption threatens to wash away precious resources that we have generated and thus denies us and our country the opportunity to seize the momentum towards gaining sustainable growth and freedom. To counteract the influence of organized crime, we must control corruption and cut the ties of organized crime to political and criminal justice authorities. In the last 2 months, the House endeavored to convey to the public how insidious this problem has become. This is why popular acceptance of the president and of his current campaign is very high, and why, despite unfair criticism against the government's efforts to dismantle the criminal infrastructure spawned by the illegal drug trade, a greater majority of the Filipino people prefer that these efforts continue unabated. I am heartened that the United Nations Development Program continues to partner with us in this endeavor, and we hope that it can accurately convey to its highest authorities the extent of this malignant growth that we need to eradicate, and how the future hinges on the success we will achieve in the war against drugs. Earlier, I mentioned that it is necessary to address the systemic foothold of corruption in our society. Many believe that corruption is difficult to define because it is value-laden. Different cultures view what we perceive as corrupt acts differently. Practices such as gift-giving and nepotism are not considered corrupt practices in many areas in Asia and Africa. And yet, when these acts are transposed to modern society and its economic activities, they raise ethical issues and frequently are not considered acceptable conduct. I am therefore of the belief that as a strategy to eradicate corruption, it is essential to counter cultural proclivities and tendencies. To do this, the educational system must be geared to teach and impart ethical living starting in the earliest grade possible. The advantages of maintaining high moral standards and of understanding communal responsibility must be taught to our children not only as concepts in catechism, but as strategies to attain socio-economic development. The constitutional mandate to give education the highest priority is anchored on the tenet that an educated society is a precondition to self-determination. Our investment in education must proceed from the objective of empowering our children to recognize and commit to the values of citizenship, moral uprightness, and respect and stewardship of the environment. Without a strong moral compass, they will be lost to a dark future. Several other institutions need to be supported to battle corruption. Judges, prosecutors, criminal investigators must continually receive training to acquaint them with best practices and trends in their respective fields. We also need to strengthen systems for recruitment, hiring, retention, promotion, and retirement of civil servants, as well as to offer them the most competitive salaries and other non-monetary benefits to reduce the temptation to engage in corrupt practices. The UNCAC principles allow us to look at our respective national conditions and to formulate preventive measures such as those that were mentioned. These are concepts that both the executive branch and the legislature can work on. Finally, I am told that for 2016, the Office of the Ombudsman received a budget increase of 180 million. For 2017, the House approved another 11% increase over this year's appropriation. In the last 2 years, therefore, the House approved a total of 400 million pesos in additional appropriation for the office. We recognize that this is a wise investment, and it will be money well spent. We also hope that this will translate to a better prosecution rate and a better appreciation of the role of the office as defined by the framers of the Constitution. Describing its very essence, the distinguished members of the Constitutional Commission viewed the role of the Ombudsman as the sumbungan ng bayan, a recourse provided to the people, specifically those who encounter difficulty in transacting with or who receive unfair treatment from public officers. Inspired by recent national events and the breakthroughs experienced in unmasking those in public office who have contributed to the worsening of the proliferation of drugs in the country, we wish to see a resurgent office, a veritable partner, and a co-crusader against wayward public officers, befitting its role of defender of the people. Indeed, nothing less is required of this venerable office, and we, in the House of Representatives, look forward to supporting its stewardship of the national campaign against corruption. There is much to be done, but the burden, no matter how heavy, must be borne by those whom the people have elected to lead them. The House of Representatives accepts the challenges ahead, confident in the thought that your help and your support remain steadfast. Daghang salamat, maayong gabi.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The Senate President expressed his regrets for not being able to attend this conference. Nonetheless, he assured us that we can rely on the Senate of the Philippines in this fight against corruption, and that the Senate of the Philippines stands ready to draft and craft legislations in support of the projects of the President against corruption. For the anti-corruption initiative in the judiciary, may we hear from Assistant Court Administrator Attorney Duterte.
President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez, Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea, and members of the Cabinet, members of the Judiciary, Representative Gwendolyn Garcia, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to speak for the Chief Justice in this yearly gathering of anti-corruption advocates. Last year, the report of the judiciary was met by warm applause by the audience in this same hall. They shared the optimism I conveyed about the reforms going on in the judiciary and joined my call for a national effort to help establish a generation of women and men committed to upholding the Constitution and to live exemplary public and private lives. These would then have the moral strength to set the gold standard that will be upheld by the personnel of the judiciary. Just last September, the court established a technical working group on judicial integrity, which is studying mechanisms to efficiently investigate and resolve disciplinary actions against members of the judiciary and to assess the effectiveness of existing rules of disciplinary actions. Since my appointment as Chief Justice in 2012 up to the third quarter of this year, 2016, the Supreme Court has disciplined, including meeting the penalty of dismissal, to the following: 167 judges, including 1 Sandigan Bayan Justice, 716 lawyers, 542 court personnel. 3 of the most famous administrative investigations have been done on our own initiative or motu proprio without a formal complainant. The court's exercise of its disciplinary powers has never before been applied with as much energy. As part of our commitment to transparency, we also announce these disciplinary actions through press briefings and post all the decisions and resolutions on the Supreme Court's website. This is intended to chill or deter unconscionable behavior in the judiciary and the law profession. On this score, let me reiterate that we take our commitment to the rule of law and democracy in a full-bodied sense. Corruption cannot be prevented if we do not ensure that justice can be obtained efficiently. through the elimination of delay in court processes. Last year, the court launched the continuous trial of criminal cases in pilot courts, in which trial is fast-tracked and conducted every other day, based on an agreed schedule. The results from the 52 pilot courts show that in cases where the accused is detained, 72.98% of the pilot courts were able to conduct arraignment to pretrial within 30 days under the rules of criminal procedure. Meanwhile, in cases in which the accused is not detained, 63.5% of the pilot courts were able to conduct arraignment to pretrial within the various periods prescribed by the rules. There is much reason to be optimistic about its eventual nationwide implementation. This project also gained international recognition for the Philippines when the United States State Department commended the continuous trial system and considered it as a factor for elevating the status of the Philippines on the matter of fighting human trafficking. The International Justice Mission also announced in its website that, quote, sweeping change is happening in the Philippines, unquote, when a human trafficking conviction was promulgated by Makati City judge within 5 months from filing of the information. Our next step is to consolidate the continuous trial guidelines with the Quezon City practice guidelines in litigation, which also features limitations to the length of pleadings, kind of motions, and number of postponements. When it was piloted in Quezon City, the guidelines shortened trial days of drug cases from an average of 1,596 days to 358 days. Indeed, the merging of continuous trial with the Quezon City practice guidelines is expected to drastically reduce delays in trial time for all kinds of cases. The court has also launched in 2013 the Justicia Decongestion Program after being rolled out in 8 different cities: Quezon City, Makati, Angeles City, Davao City, Manila, Pasig, San Juan, and Taguig. As of June 2016, 36% of the targeted dockets have been disposed, equivalent to 15,227 cases. The project will be rolled out to trial courts in regions 4A and 4B next year. We have also deployed 616 contractual case decongestion officers in the National Capital Judicial Region and regions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. These case decongestion officers, who are at the minimum law graduates, will assist judges in the inventory of cases and in drafting of orders and resolutions. I envision a future where a judge has on average only 300 cases each. With that condition, even the drastically reduced trial time I had described in Quezon City can be shortened further. On another front, reducing delays is also anchored on the court achieving the E-way, an automated judicial process which eliminates opportunities for corruption brought about by unnecessary human intervention and discretion and increases access to justice. In line with this goal to make technology work for the courts and the public, the court has since 2015 been implementing its 5-year automation master plan called the Enterprise Information Systems Plan. Foremost is the electronic courts, or e-courts, which is a case management system allowing judges and court employees and the public to monitor case incidents in real time. The public can view the status of cases at public kiosks in halls of justice. As of November 2016, e-courts has been deployed in 197 courts, and by the end of 2017, e-courts will be fully operational in 297 trial courts, handling about 30% of the total caseload in the lower courts. We hope that in 5 years' time, all our courts will be in electronic mode. Next year, we will upgrade e-courts with an integrated document management system and key functions such as e-filing, e-notification, and online case document access. An offshoot of the e-court is the automated hearing system, which has already been rolled out in 155 courts in Angeles City, Cebu City, Davao City, Lapu-Lapu, Makati, Pasig, Quezon City, and Tacloban. This enables the issuance of written orders in real time in as little as 15 minutes after the order is given in open court. This, of course, cuts down trial time substantially. We have seen dramatic moments when litigants have received an order of release handed to them minutes after it is read out in open court. This has actually started to make people who have witnessed automated hearings believe that justice in real time is actually possible. We have also worked with the Philippine National Police to implement the PNP-developed e-subpoena system in the NCR and Angeles City. This ensures that police witnesses will attend hearings and avoids delay or even dismissal of cases for failure to prosecute. Courts in Regions 3, 5, 6, and 7 are also undergoing training for the use of an e-subpoena. For all of these apps to run, we need an IT infrastructure highway that cuts across our country. We have already implemented phase 1 by building our main and disaster recovery data centers in Manila and Angeles City, and are providing internet to the courts in NCR, Regions 3, 4A, and Region 7. We are moving to the next phase with the construction of regional data centers in Davao City, Lapu-Lapu City, and Tagaytay City. All these efforts are trying to lead the judiciary to ultimately observe the gold standard in public service, however, would be useless unless it is founded on credibility, good faith dealing, and fairness. The Times called for a rigorous self-examination by everyone in government on whether there is personal compliance with the Constitution's threefold requirements for accountability. First, that public service is being rendered with utmost responsibility, integrity, loyalty, and efficiency. Second, whether every action we perform has been performed with patriotism and justice. And third, whether the leader leads a modest life. The law on the conduct of public officials, Republic Act 6713, sets the norm for public officers' conduct, and among the standards of conduct is, of course, professionalism. Thus lies a key element of credibility, a proactive approach by every leader in government to eliminate every source of perception that government leadership, whether in an elective or appointed position, is being used to dispense or peddle undue patronage. That is why every effort is now being undertaken in the judiciary to strengthen the independence of judges. This independence is independence from undue influence, whether of political, local government units, business, social interests, or of family interests. Soon the courts will be reviewing several studies being made on how to instill and strengthen integrity in the judiciary. These studies consider how values are formed among law students, how the court can shape these further values to guide future careers in the judiciary, how lawyers are accredited to practice and maintain their standing in the Philippine bar, and how a high norm of conduct and performance can be exacted and maintained in the judiciary. This would also include understanding how compensation impacts conduct, and what is necessary to assure that hardworking, honest judges that they can maintain a decent middle-class lifestyle. All of these efforts, while good in themselves, are intended to make justice come fully alive in the perception of our countrymen. All these efforts need the help of the two other branches of government, as well as those of the constitutionally created agencies of accountability, such as the Ombudsman and the Commission on Audit. The judiciary is giving its level best to win the war against corruption, but we do not have sufficient investigative capabilities. We have not been given the hard evidence to follow the money trail. In the coming months, we need to discuss how these deficiencies must be addressed. We cannot fail our people. Our future as a nation hinges on whether its leaders are able to walk the talk, as well as talk to other people about the right way to walk. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, sir. At this point, may I request the Executive Secretary Medialdea and Ombudsman Carpio Morales to please present the State Conference resolution. Thank you very much, sir. To introduce our keynote speaker, please welcome E.S. Medialdea.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Kindly sit. Salamat po. I'm sorry I was late. I was presiding over the turnover of the office of the Chief of Staff for the Armed Forces of the Philippines. May bago hong ano tayo. It's General I forgot. Anyo. Kasi dalawa yun silang contender kasi. It's, I chose Anyo because of the seniority. Of course, pursuant to my promise during the election that I would never tinker in the selection and promotion of military officers. I would also have done it with the police. Hindi kakasali dito itong the following topics that I would like to say to this audience. I would have also allowed the police to have their own, mayroon silang promotions board something. But can I have the, you hear me very often and always, and I say, and I will complete the story, parang, wala akong tataguin, sabi ko, putang ina ninyo, papatayin ko kayo because you are destroying my country. And I said, those of you who are depriving us of the youth for the next generation, talagang papatayin ko kayo. It's a statement. And that is all there is to it. Now, why? Here is all there is to it. This is the drug industry in the Philippines. Mga litrato nila, yung ibang ex-patay na yan, ito si Loot and some police generals. When I knew that the drug problem was serious, and with it the corruption of the entire government, I knew that it was something that drastic must be done. And I had my own way of enforcing what I took to be something very serious. Nung na-presidente ako at ginusto ko nang malaman ang lahat, and with the few, alam mo na how it is played, ginamit ko ang pagka-presidente ko, sabi ko, ibigay ninyo lahat sa akin. Do not fool me. Do not try to. Sabi ko, magpapatayat. Huwag ninyo akong bulahin. And so, ito, sample lang ito. This stick, ba't yan? Region 1. Ayan, kalagay lahat yan. Puro pangalan yan. There are 5,000 of them. Who are they? Some governors, some mayors, policemen, a few military men, a lot of barangay captains. And the drug lords. Yung mga in-check. So I was really horrified. So when the final listing came, kasi sabi ko, it is not good to make public the name of a person, tapos sabihin mo lang na nagkamali ka. I had that, mistake when, pero ako rin, I was the one who tried to, wala akong nakita kay Espino. Putol-putol yung, and so I had to apologize. Then I had it validated, revalidated, hanggang ngayon. Nakakatayo ng bahib nito, it's 4,000 personalities. Nandyan lahat. The Maote rebel movement in Lanao and even in Mindanao, with the exception of the MI and the MN, almost all of them extremists, are driving their movements sa Cebu. There are a lot of laboratories in the mountains between Dato Piang and Buldon. And I just, after the ceremonies kanina, nagpapalitan sila ng pwesto, we had a command conference and I gave the instructions. We have to invest here lives. We have to invest money. We have to invest armaments. And we have to invest in everything that will suppress itong extremism. Because ang extremism sa Mindanao, ang gasolina nila ang Cebu. That is why Mindanao, Cagayan de Oro, hindi na siguro nila alam, sa galit ko, ganun sinabi ko. Ba't sino namang hindi magalit? At saka sabi ko, why would it be wrong to say that if you destroy my country, I will kill you? And if you deprive us, the parents of our children, wala namang mayaman sa atin dito, talaga na malaki ang bahay namin. Puro tayo mahirap. Kaya tayo nagtatrabaho eh. Ditiis lang na nga sa gobyerno, kayo lang inabutan natin. But sino bang magbibigay ng medisina sa atin when we grow old? Who will dip the lugaw to your mouth? Kung puro ugok na lahat na ito. Remember, General Santiago Padilla, 2 years or 3 years ago, gave us a figure of 3 million addicts. And he said, noon 92 barangays of Metro Manila. Then he went further by saying that 92% of the barangays in the Philippines were already contaminated. That was the red flag actually. Wala itong kasali sa akin. Because yung sinabi ko na mag-surrender kayo, kung hindi papatayin ko talaga kayo. So everybody lined up doon sa ano. What did I do? I deprived them of their might. And what is it? It's really the warlord style. If you're a mayor, you strut around with so many guns, so many bodyguards. Then you are into Cebu. And for those policemen of yours who resisted the temptation to be there, papatayin mo. A lot of those guys killed so many people along the way just to protect and continue with their business. Do not be sorry for them. It's not needed. They've had enough blood. Kaya ako, I gave a copy to Congress, si Senate President, pati si Speaker. Why? Hindi ko kaya. Puro mati abogado nga. Hindi ko talaga kaya. Ngayon ito karami. Sabi nila, pinapatay ko. Wala akong panahon. I'm getting emotional, but I would be running out of time even to kill them. And of bullets. You know, if I file a case, sabi mo file a case, I have to build a case because alam natin it is an instant crime. Either you have it in your position or control, or it is not. Then if it is not, kagaya na itong si Albuera, and he says it was not his. Pero galing siya doon, and his house was full of drugs. Alam mo, if there is one thing na hindi ko matanggap, tangina, wag mo akong lukuhin. Do not come in front of me and pleading na, sir, wag kang maniwala niyan. When all alone, you start selling and you never stop. Hindi ko matanggap yan. Totoo lang. Pareho tayo maging kriminal. Do not. Paano? Mabutit na lang there's a good soul amongst the Chinese investors that would come in. He decided not to invest, but to put his money to finance the biggest 10,000 persons facility. Otherwise, wala talaga akong magawa. Itong mga all, the bleeding hearts, itong Amerikano. And they reprimand me as if I am their lucky. So, Mayor Duterte calling for investigation before the International Criminal Court. Fine, go ahead. Sabi, wala akong pakialam dyan. Go ahead. Now, it turns out that they are not even a signatory to that convention. Gago ang mga... Even the EU. Kaya sabi ko, kayo. So, despite the protestations of Obama, picturing the Philippines, well, of course, including me, to be murderers and everything. Here comes Trump. So we had a talk. And I said, Mr. President, it's evening here. Good evening. Oh, President Duterte, you should fix our bad relations. It needs a lot of, you just set something good here. And you're doing great. I know what's you worry about these Americans criticizing you. You're doing good. Go ahead. I had this problem in the border of Mexico and America, and this goddamn shit guy. So ngayon, kung makinig ka kay Ram magsalita sa akin, naging santo ako. Doon sa isang administrasyon, well, ganoon lang. Pero the bottom line, salamat. Sa Air Force ka ba? Hindi, araw-araw kasi magpalit yung aid ko eh. Navy, Air Force, Police. Tungan sa... Ang plano ko is mag-resign lang siguro ako. Yung mga yellow dyan. Nagde-demonstrate kayo, hindi kayo. Kayo nang hindi kayo. You want me out because you cannot accept defeat. Pag yung masabi mo yung left, they would never even allow me to step down 2 steps to the ground. Yung mga komunista, yung NPA, puro Duterte yan. Tira mo, balang araw, sila yung, ito politika to. Just wanted me out. Kasi yung, siyempre, yung Vice President. O di kayo, you had your chance. When did the drug industry blossom? With that thickness. Of course, I cannot prove my case beyond reasonable doubt. I know that. I've been a prosecutor for years. But to build a case just like one, we have to assign about 4 or 5 operatives. We do not have the money, and we do not have the manpower. That's why I had to declare a state of lawlessness to justify the entry of the military to do police work and to be of assistance to the police. Kulang talaga ng tao. At saan ba yung papel na namatay? Ito, gago na to. Yung ilan yung patay. Kung extrajudicial killing, I'd give you a rundown of how many soldiers have lost so far and policemen. Kita ninyo, araw-araw lumilipad ako doon sa inyo namatay to show solidarity with the people and of course with the police. Araw-araw namamatayan ako ng police, 2, 3. Ngayon itong araw ako sigurado may patay na naman. Wag na lang, Bong. Maggulat pa sila. Okay. Kasama talaga ng lagay ng panahon ng Pilipinas. Totoo lang. So far, I've lost 58 sa police. I've lost 54 sa military. If that is extrajudicial killing, why would I allow my men to die? Why don't you just shoot them by Barrett? You can hit him a kilometer away. That's the characteristics of that gun. Wounded is 233. My God. Kaya ako, sabi mo, bakit galit yan palagi si Duterte? Masakit ulo ko palagi. Kita mo naman doon, man. I know, you might characterize this as, kung ito kidnapping lang, kagaya dito, Manila 6 or 4, ganon, okay lang. Kasi ang style na dito, pag kidnap na yung in-check, patay na yan. Kaya magbigay ng pera yan o hindi, patay na yan. Kaya kung ikaw mag-kidnap, sabi mo asawa mo, huwag kang bigay, hayaan mo. Magsindi ka na lang ng perdon ng kandila. Malaki mo yung... Kaya ako galit because it is not a simple police matter. It is an assault sa bayan ko. Na pag ang bayan ko na ganito ilagay mo sa talagang alanganin, we will come up with a failed state. If I do not interdict now, at kung matakot lang ako ng demanda yung ICC na yan, well, I will rot in jail. And so, that is my contribution to you. To protect your sons and daughters. Look at the crime rate of Manila before I became a president. Tignan mo. Rape dito, rape doon, pasok dito. At least ngayon, namamatay yung mga gago. Pasensya kayo. Ginusto ninyo yan. Now, sa totoo lang, yung early onslaught, yung 3,000 na pinagrereklamo nila, hindi amin yun. We never had, because at that time, I had to talk to the entire command. You must remember, do not be offended, because that is really true. Initially, I fired several generals. And before I became president, 2 weeks before, bakbakan na dito, patayan na. Look at the records. Do you think we will waste time torturing a person by wrapping him with what does that indicate to you? Torture. Why? Must be some information. What information? Sinong sinabihan mo na sabit ako dito? That was Devo. Of course, totoo yung may enkwentro at totoo ring may talagang sinalvage. Talagang yung pinatay without nihinuha. But kung sabihin mo ang order ko sa police, nandyan yan sila, na you shoot the idiot kneeling down with his hands tied on his back. Di ako gagong ganun sa kaabogado ko. I said, we are fighting a war. It is an assault on my country, and I will not allow it. Go out and destroy the apparatus of the drug lords. At ilang beses ko sinabi yan, time and again over TV, go out and hunt for them, arrest them if possible so that we can get the information. But if they present a violent resistance using now the book, and you feel that your life is in jeopardy, shoot him dead. That's my order. At totoo yan. At yan ang gagawin nila. At pag hindi nila gagawin, ako ang babaril sa kanila. Huwag ninyo akong laruan. Magpapatayan tayo dito sa bayan na to. You know, I run for the presidency. You know, lahat naman kayo. Wala ang pera. Well, yung PDP was moribund, and but it suddenly came alive. And to the surprise of it all, I won. Imagine yet na ganong kataas. What does that indicate? What did I say to the public? You elect me president, then I will corruption. And I will give you a respite of these so many generations of corruption in this country. We are like a plane on the verge of a takeoff and yet cannot lift. There is no lift because of corruption. Yan talaga ang totoo dyan. Everywhere, including sa baba, local governments. Yang mga, for example, in the islands of down south, ayaw ko na lang kasi baka magwala yung mga gag. Tignan mo sa mapa ang highway crisscrossing. Mga 5 highway may intersection yan. Sa mapa, pati sa papel as certified completed project. Pumunta ka doon, anak ng iting. Isang highway lang sa tabing dagat pa. Kaya itong dito sa Hulo, pati Basilan, it will be undertaken by the office of the president. And it will be handled by the military. At ako mismo ang magtingin doon. The hospitals and all. Otherwise, walang dadating doon maganda. I'm not saying, I'm not casting any aspersion on any person. But that's the cold reality. It's either I do not help, I will withhold the money, or help and do it ako na mismo. Ako na mismo mag-supervise. Bigay ko sa engineering battalion. You go to down Sabah. Construct the roads there. Engineering brigades na lang. So may makuha pa ako ng kabutihan. But itong sa drugs, kaya ko binigay sa kanila. And I don't know, maybe he's right or he's right. Kay Bingbong, padala ko sana sa Supreme Court. Tinanong ko si Tony Teo, sabi niya hindi pa. Lagyan ko doon sa ko is for whatever it is worth to you. But remember that this is not a complaint where I have already the proof beyond reasonable doubt. Kasi sinabi ko lang, kasi marami kayong judges nandyan, anak ng pati prosecutors nandyan. Alam mo, hindi mo matagong korupsyon eh. It will always leak. Kaya ang department ko, sa NEDA noon, it would take you 2 to 3 years to get your papers released. Noon. Ngayon, 1 month. Kay Billy Dulay, sabi niya, 3 days. Lusot. Alam kasi yung the longer they squat on the documents, pera-pera talaga yan. So, ang needs to be corrected is down. Dito, wala kayong problema. I can assure you, there will be no corruption. Pagka mayroon, isali kita na I will suspect that you are a drug lord. Dito sa akin, okay kami. There will be no corruption. I will assure you, 100%. Ang crime, ang problema, ang corruption sa droga, ang mas malawak. And must a threat really to the very existence. Now, why do you say that you want, instead of bringing him to justice, bulahin ng ganun? Katagal ko. Piskal ako ng isang kaso ko, lalaruan ka ng abogado, abot kami ng siyam-siyam. Umalis na lang ako pagka-piskal, nandiyan pa yung kaso. Mga bulahan ng ganun. Hindi na, from where of I come, you should know. Huwag nga tayo magbulahan ng ganun kasi you build the case. Kaya ako, basta may warning lang ako. Do not destroy my country. Alam mo, will ask you, hindi what is the rule of the law? What is the role of the law here? Now. Huwag yan ang rule nga you. I'm asking you for the oath. What is the role of the law? Knowing fully well how fast we can produce a conviction. Up to the Supreme Court. How many years? Well, they are playing, they can maybe band, tapos maglaro. Yung ganong style nila. Pag nakapiyansa ka, may abogado ka, magagandang high profile na abogado. Sige. Tapos maglaro ka, uli. Pati yung abogado mo, isali ko yan. Ganun yan na kasi this is fit for something like talagang staggering. And it would do well to thought everybody's listening, this is televised national. You would do well to stop. Or kayo yung mga may tama na. People now can walk the streets unafraid because walang nag-i-istambay. Umalis kayo. You go back to your house, bumalik kayo sa bahay ninyo, tapos pumasok kayo sa kwarto, ilock ninyo sarili ninyo. Huwag kayong magpakita-pakita sa labas. Dadamputin ko kayawa. Ganon wala akong choice eh. The choice is martial law or what. I'm not into it. That's enough that there is that state of lawlessness. And even with the fighting now but kita mo pati yung if that is not rebellion, what is it? Sumabog yung harap ng Ateneo, killing how many? And ilang beses nangyari yan? Sa Davao, wala. We just clean the place, clean it up, then business again. That is the life in Mindanao. So the MILF is willing to talk. So they have stopped waging a war. The MN, Sinor, meron silang dynamics with the MI. So he wants a separate talk. But he has stopped fighting government. Itong mga extremists ngayon, ang bagong problema ko, and I hope that it would not come during my time, because if they lose the land base, the land mass in Aleppo and Mosul, and the IS with their backs against the sea, they will look for another territory. And ideally, it is Malaysia. Alam ng police, alam nila yan. So yung hijacking, hindi na natapos-tapos dyan. So I met with Widodo and Najib. How can we stop the piracy here? Well, so we allowed ourselves that we agreed that if you are hijacked in the Malaysian waters and there is a chase across the international waters and you enter the Philippine waters, they are free to continue the pursuit. Sinabi ko sa kanila, sabi ko kay Widodo, kung talagang you're about to escape, kung di pasabugin na. If they cannot be captured, pasabugin mo. How about the hostages? Di pasabugin mo rin. And you're not supposed to be there. There's a warning, and good that there is. Ang Amerika, nagsabi, there's danger there, do not go there. Good, because talagang totoo. Kikidnapin ka lang rin, tapos luglugin ka sa harap ng kamera. But in dealing with them, what is the role of the rule of law there? Let me ask you. Pati yung mga sundalo ko, kung mahuli, yan ang isunod po doon. And why would I allow my government people to to make the supreme sacrifice. And here I refuse. Sabi ko nga, I'm using the son of a bitch, creating trouble for my country. You not only destroyed a few people, you destroyed the whole of the Visayas. And another idiot who is now dead was responsible for the contamination widespread sa West. I would say that I may be opening myself to, but you know, somebody has to do it. If it behoves upon me to, I will do everything to prevent my country from being fractured. If we cannot give, you will remember me after. May isang maranaw tayo dyan. He's my brad. He's the presidential advisor for the... If we cannot give the setup of federal type, forget about peace. We will lose Mindanao. Incessant fighting. Finally, magsabi tayo, sige, walay na lang. Then we will have like the Balkan states. Territory. Because the Visayans would not also like it. And ang mga Bicol, I'm going there for the federalism. Itong sila sa fight against crime, back, Jimenez, Makati na ang they will not allow this is a topsy-turvy place. Do not ever think that there is no trouble in Mindanao. There is a war going on. My soldiers are there in the Republic of the Philippines. They are fighting now. Hanggang nga nagigira pa sa hulo. And many died. Magsabi ka, how many soldiers? 100, 200, more than. Siguro in that course of that fighting, during my term, baka I lost about, whenever I fly there, just to condole, I lost an average of 9. The last time was 9. Yung mga scout rangers na, because we are afraid of the fighting with the communists, I thank God that they agreed to talk sa Oslo about peace. So we seized the moment. Baka sakali I can hack it. So kung okay ang Communist Party, and we have a large grouping there sa cabinet, and you should see when they clash with the rightist and the, sabi ko yung mga CIA dyan sa kabinete. Alam ninyo kung sino yan. One even talks like an American. You know, Mr. President, I would like to report that during my talks in Washington, D.C., I had a chance to talk to Senator. Oh, okay. Kung marunong ito magsalita ng Amerikano. So, ganun ho ang order ko talaga is to destroy. Because my firm belief, my honest assessments sa bayan ko is it's going to the dogs like the Latin American countries. Ion Grillo, who wrote The Gangster, wrote about how the Latin American states failed, including gusto ko batukan. Human rights. You want me to go to jail for human rights? When you, as a matter of fact, invaded Panama, unseated the president, placed him in jail until now, no trial. Noriega. Why? Because they were feeding the drugs doon sa... Na ang problema nila ngayon, I was talking to... Kasi I received their new ambassador, yung Koreano. Nandoon din yun, the same group yung mga gagong CIA dyan. Sabi ko, you know, you imported so many Filipinos. Karamihan dito yung mga anak ng mayaman makaatraso, and even the policemen. Itong mga gagong to, they'd go to America. Sali ang tigas-tigas doon Sabi ko, you imported so many Filipinos. You have now a problem. Because yung cocaine, pati heroin, comes from Colombia and the Bolivia. But itong shabu, niluluto lang ito sa likod ng bahay. Magpa-barbecue ka lang dyan. Shabu, when cooking shabu, it smells like a wire that's burning. Ayaw ko kung tapos may amoy. Yun ang amoy ng shabu. Ngayon, problema nila yan. So, dumating na sa kanila. Mamili ka kasi. You want to be an Obama? Then suffer the consequences. You choose Trump? Alam naman ninyo si Trump. Pero at least kaibigan ko. So they are doing all right. Do not mind them. At sinabi pa, may sinabi yung international network, yung malaban sa kanya. And I had no media supported me, and I did it on my own. Yes. That's why I'm very impressed with you, Mr. President. Oh, yes. When you come to Washington, D.C. or New York City, look me up and I will have coffee. Maybe you can give me a suggestion, one or two, how to solve this goddamn bullshit, son of a... Pero ako, magprangka ako, kababayan man tayo. Hindi na ninyo ako matakot dyan sa mga International Court of Justice. That's bullshit to me. May trabaho ako. I take it as an onslaught, as a plunder in my country. You took the advantage of the frailty of so many people, especially the young. You made them crazy. In numbers, to the millions. What do you think will be my reaction? Pag pinag-usapan na natin ang bayan, pag nagwala ako, tumabi na lang kayo dyan. Sa totoo lang, rule of law. But what is the role of the law there? Ano nang laro ng batas nito kung ganun? Pati yung mga anak mo, talagang magpatayan tayo. You know, that is self-preservation of the Filipino race. 4 million, you add another 4. Maybe 8, you add another 4. Kung pagkatapos ng, they would be back in vengeance. Maybe if I lose, I'm ousted. Ganito yan. Kaya sabi ko sa mga ugok, huwag ninyo akong takutin. My presidency has something to do with destiny. I am sure it was God who placed me there. Because mismo sa Luzon, Luzon, isa lang siya, wala akong barangay captain, wala akong congressman isa. In the Visayas where I come from Cebu sa tatay ko, even sa hometown sa Danao, mga Duranos, my cousins, were for another candidate. In Cebu City, wala talaga ako ni isa. And yet, I won by 2 million. Kaya sabi, saan ito galing? Sabi ko sa asawa ko, pag sabi nanalo ako, ginising ako ng asawa, sabi niya, nanalo ka. Sabi ko, ilan? Sabi niya, 4 million. Sabi ko, kindly, let's talk about this thing. Hindi ako makapaniwala. Sabi niya, Diyos na yan. Maybe he has a role for you. Siguro may purpose ka ng, sabi, sa totoo lang rin, ha? Walang. Kung hindi ako naging presidente, alam ninyo yan. Alam ninyo yan. Kung hindi ako ang naging presidente. Now, I get ousted. Impeach, fine, I'll step down. I will be assassinated, they'd blow up my, fine. So be it. Why? Because that is part of my destiny. God says that you will be president, you'll stay there for just 6 months, 1 year, and that's it. Maybe just to show to the people of the Philippines that you have a serious problem here. Wala akong illusions dyan sa staying in power. I've been mayor for 23 years. Been a congressman. I've been a vice mayor to my daughter. May kaso pa rin niya siguro, nanuntok eh. Well, so make no mistake about it. Wala akong dyan sa, I'm rubbing my hands, it's cold. Wala akong illusions dyan sa president. Basta ako may trabaho. And as I understand it, this is the problem. So lahat kayong simple man. It's a very simple formula. You stop or you go out, enjoy your money, no problem. Kayo may tama na, punta kayo sa akin, I will bring you to the biggest facility. It's good for 10,000 people. Kompleto, siya ang magbayad sa doctor, nurses, and all. Truly, a very generous man, a Chinese. So, gano'n. Ngayon, kung kayo, sige pa, hindi mag-imbento yung pulis, hindi mo maniwala yan. Ayan, lagyan ka ng sebo. Alam niya, papatayin ko rin siya pag ginawa niyang gano'n. Hindi kita papalusutin. Opresyon. Gano'n na, patayin mo isang tao. Palusutin mo na mag-away kayo ng babae, tapos bigyan mo ng sebo. Malaman ko ng malaman ang totoo. So for the time that I'm here, until I am whatever future holds for me, let us be clear on this. I will do exactly the way I understand the problem, honestly. And I will react to it the way I should. No middle ground. If you think that there's something there is broken, so be it. Hayaan ko kung let it flow. Whatever comes to me, I will accept it. But ito bayan ko, basi ganun ako ganito lang, mahal ko talaga ang bayan ko. Remember that my mother is Maranao, ang lolo ko Chinese. Nag-grow lang yan kasi ang kanyang naturalization ng abogado niya, attorney Roa. Despite of my being a mix, talagang mahal ko ang bayan ko. Do not, or else will go kaput. Salamat po.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. At this point, may we request the President for some photo ops. May we call table numbers 1 and 7, please? Sure. See. May we request the second batch, table numbers 2 and 5, to stay on the side. Pag nandun na lang, tsaka ako tawagin. Thank you. May I request table numbers 2 and 5 to approach the President.